Well, as the attendees do file in here to our Flower Power chat here, first and foremost, I'd like to say to all of you that are already signed in, welcome. We're very glad to have you. If you've sailed on Flower Power in the past, which I know most of you probably have, you know me. I am your cruise host, Jason Venner, and it's so great to see all of you. I know it's been far too long, and hopefully we'll remedy that soon enough. I'm joined by two individuals here who you've probably met at some point throughout the different charters, but if you have not, they are of course they're the power behind what is StarVista Live's cruise section. We have Senior Vice President Mike Jason. Hello, Mike. How are you, sir?
Hi, Jason. Hi, everyone. How you doing?
And we also have Senior Vice President Mr. Alan Rubens, who's also the executive producer of the Flower Power Cruise. Alan, how are you, sir?
Good, Jason. Hi, everybody.
Now, obviously, let's be blunt right off the top. We wish we were holding this for better purposes than we are. Let's not sugarcoat it too deep here. I think that one thing off the top that might be lost in the postponement of these cruises is, and this isn't me trying to be cute, but it's the disappointment of StarVista Live. It's the disappointment of the people, the artists, and the creative team behind these cruises that works, and maybe people don't know this, but up to 18 months to create a 1-week event, and then you have it postponed for natural causes and whatnot, and it's incredibly it's hard, it's devastating, and I know you guys have felt that a lot with the latter half of 2020 and now most of 2021. So Mike, I'll actually start with you, sir. Obviously with chartering, I don't think people necessarily sometimes get the scale of how far out that you are creating contracts, and for the simple fact that you are contracting into cruise lines as a consumer, if you will, yourself to a certain extent. Would you talk us through a little bit about the relationship between StarVista Live and the cruise lines before we jump into guest questions and go deeper into the Q&A?
Sure, absolutely. I echo your point. It's incredibly disappointing when you understand how far out we work, how much work goes into securing the artists and putting all the pieces together. A lot of it's not evident to everyone. We hope that it's not transparent in some ways, that it looks like it's easily done, but it's not. We start about 18 months ahead of time, ahead of a cruise, and so we want to make sure that we have a ship, we have a week, we have an itinerary, and that's difficult because there are competitors out there looking for some of the same weeks. We have certain artists that can make certain weeks. Certain artists can make certain half weeks. So I want to give Alan, in this case, all the opportunity to have the lineup, the itinerary that he wants, so that he can get the very best lineup, and we get the best week. And so we start 18 months ahead of time. It is a contract, so our relationship with the charter companies is every bit third-party arm's length. So we have no equity in them; they have no equity in us. We are simply a licensor, a licensee of the ship. And so our obligations go strictly according to that contract. And I think that gets lost sometimes in the translation, because we work so seamlessly well on board that it looks like we're all kind of on the same team, and we are in terms of the event. But it's very much driven by a 55, 60-page contract. And that contract holds us to sail. It holds us to pay for every single room, the gratuities, the port fees and taxes. We also have a target of onboard revenue. So there are really a lot of strict parts of the contract that we really can't renegotiate. And anything we change has to be changed based on our conversation with Celebrity. So we're not able to move weeks. We're not able to move ships. They can change quite a bit without consulting us, which is normal because it's a ship and things happen. So it's very much a arm's length, and that ship we're going to pay for whether it's empty or it's full, and they've been great partners. We enjoy working with them, but it's very much a formal contract.
So as you set up, let's use Flower Power, obviously, since that's what we're talking. When you're talking to Celebrity about running the week of Flower Power, and it's 18 to 24 months out, you're securing the ship, and we're talking about ports of call, and we're talking about all the fun things that go into it, and you've got your contract down. When you lock that contract down, if you only sell, let's say for fun, there's 1,000 cabins, to use round numbers. If you only sell 10 cabins, you're still contracted to that ship.
Yeah, we're contracted for every single room on the ship, every single cabin, and we've been fortunate, and I think skillful in terms of putting on a great event, and it's always been full or virtually full. But we have the obligation, regardless of how many people are on board. In fact, there are penalties if we don't have enough people on board, because they look for the onboard revenue, the food and beverage and the casino and whatnot. So I think I went back and looked, and our contract that originated in June of 2019 for 20, and of course 20 was postponed, but that carried on. So it was essentially the same contract with amendments. So we're really sailing a 2020 cruise in 2022. We didn't get out and get back in. They just delayed it, just postponed it.
And through all of this, and we're not looking for sympathy, and I want to make that very clear to guests, but to be clear, you're still making payments to the cruise line because you have this contract. It's not like the cruise line just cut things off and said, oh, we'll get to you when we get to you. A common question from the guests is, why is money still coming in, or why are payments still being made? We're still responsible, and by we, I mean as a charterer to the cruise line for that ship, and there's still payments going out, correct?
I appreciate you're asking it that way, because honestly, it's a privilege and an honor to work on these cruises. So if anything comes across as a burden, it's a burden that we happily welcome.
Oh, absolutely.
The fact of the matter is that we pay the ship, and we have the obligation to pay the ship, and so we don't. It's not sitting on money. The money goes out to the ship, and it goes out to the artists. There are down payments to the artists, your staging and production, and many of the 2020 costs that have already been spent. There's travel, and so again, it's a burden that we happily accepted, but it is an obligation for us to pay the ship and other people along the way. So it's not as though they can just put it off and the obligation goes away. It just gets extended a little bit sometimes if we change the timing.
And I think part of the reason I ask that is, obviously with Flower Power being postponed a second time, there's 2 layers of money back questions from guests, and so speaking for them, when the first postponement happened, why wasn't the refund done then? And that's what we're discussing. You're still making payments to the ship. You're still reserving artists. There's still a lot of money going out. Correct. That's why the initial refund wasn't done.
Yeah, I mean, our business model has always been that we have an obligation for the ship, and certainly the guests can choose to sail or not sail. If they decide to sail, they can purchase insurance, but it's really non-refundable, and there's no way for us to secure that ship, and we do that 6-7 times a year if the refund policy. However, we recognize that when you do it twice, things have changed a lot, and so a policy can't be in the absence of some logic and just feeling that the right thing to do is to offer people a refund this time. So it was really the second postponement that we felt. We're still have the same obligations to the ship, so it hasn't gone away. We're still paying them. However, we do recognize this is unusual circumstance, and so we made the offer.
When you're, and you and I and Alan and many others had talked about this directly, there's, when you're holding someone's money for 2 years, that's a significant amount of time, and at that point there's a do the right thing, moment that StarVista has to step up to that plate.
Many times over the last 6 or 8 months, we found ourselves in uncharted territory. And so the disappointment that we're facing, the change of our business model, the renegotiations with the ship companies, again, we understand that's part of the territory, but we had to look at a circumstance and say, what's the right thing to do? And I think, that's what Alan and I usually do. We look across the table to each other and say, what's the right thing to do here that's consistent with what we are and what our obligations are, or what do we feel like the right thing to do is? And that led to the change. And we don't regret it. It's something that needed to be done.
Now, one of the common comments we had, and for guests, when I say common comments, obviously people interact with StarVista Live in multiple different ways. Some people interact via social media accounts. Some people interact through emails, through the customer service. Some people reacted directly to us announcing we were going to do this webinar. So there's a lot of different ways that you guys receive comments from guests. And one of the more common ones, I want to say this first, and this isn't just lip service, but really a testament to the Flower Power guests that, considering this has now been delayed twice, it's been postponed a second time, and which is disappointing. And everybody acknowledges and recognizes that. The overwhelming amount of positivity and people that are really just, the amount of people that have said, listen, we want to do it this year, but if it's not, we want to do it next year. And if it's not, then we want to do it next year. I know I speak on behalf of you two when I say that it's tremendously appreciated that most people can kind of grasp the understanding of this. With that said, there are some questions about how soon you knew or how soon you predicted that this cruise would be postponed the second time, and why there were delays, why money was still being accepted from guests when there was an assumption by people that, oh, it was going to be postponed all along. And would you talk to that a little bit?
No, it's a really fair question. I think that from the beginning, we started out optimistic. The way it works is that the CDC allows the ships to sail or not to sail, and they had a no sail order. And I went back and looked at my records, and the first one was from March to April, and the second was April to July, and then it was July to September, and then it was September to October, and the ships have now gone even beyond October, so the no sail is committed through November. So as the CDC and the charter ships kind of came to a conclusion of when the restart timing would be set, we were watching that. And so we had the feeling that by September 1st, the ships would be in the water again. They probably would be a lower capacity than full capacity. There would be some protocols, some testing, whatever. And when that became obvious it wasn't going to be done, our review started to change. We were optimistic up until late in the summer, and then I think
hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were guilty of anything, it's being, optimistic, enthusiastic. At the bottom line was we were never going to sail if it wasn't safe, and we were never going to sail unless the experience could be the same. And so as we went deeper into the summer, we realized that neither of those two things could be assured, and that the ships themselves are not back in the water sailing in the Caribbean until November, December. And I think we started making that decision late August, early September. We interacted with Celebrity. It's a negotiation, again, back to the contract, which I hate to bring up, but they said, well, you owe us the money. You were going to sail, you plan to sail in March, and we had to kind of convince them, and it was a cordial convincing, but it was convincing nonetheless that we didn't feel that March was a great time for us to guarantee that the experience would be the same. They themselves kept delaying the restart dates, and that was based on the CDC regulations. So we became a little bit more pessimistic as the summer went on. And so we made the decision probably in early September. It took us a month to negotiate. And again, it's just because it's a contract and there's lawyers on the other side that comb over it and consider it. And they were fine. They did postpone it. And so by early October, I think we signed the amendment October 5th. So before October 5th, we absolutely unequivocally could not tell people we were not sailing. We had an obligation to sail, we had an obligation to pay, and until Celebrity let us postpone on October 5th. And then, of course, I want to give Alan enough time to secure the artists, because we don't want to say we're postponing it for another year. We're not sure what artists are going to be with us. And so, to his credit, he was able to secure virtually everybody that we had from 21 to 22 in 2 weeks. And it shows you how excited the artists are to come back. And they, of course, were disappointed too, but lots of times I couldn't tell their management that we were sailing currently, that the ship was out there and things were going to be the same. And so, they themselves had some hesitancy. So, again, things changed. We made the negotiation October 5th, and then we announced it, I think, October 15th. So it was about 10 days that we were able to secure artists and change the website and come up with the policies and procedures for carry forward or refunds or whatever, however we're treating it. So that's the timing. And until they have an agreement, an amendment signed to the agreement, we are not able to communicate anything. And they're pretty strict about that, the charter companies.
And just to be clear, any and all guests that were booked on Flower Power, on this Flower Power cruise that is then again postponed, was given 3 options. So every guest had the option to transfer their booking to 22, to the next, or this upcoming Flower Power. What's the next upcoming Flower Power? They had a cruise credit option for any one of the StarVista line cruises, as long as it's used by end of December 22. Is that correct?
Yes.
StarVista Live line, I said line, forgive me, StarVista Live cruises by end of December 22, or a refund for every guest. So each guest booked on that cruise for 21 had those three choices offered.
Yes.
And then the deadline for returning that information, for anyone watching that it was unclear or didn't note that, the deadline for returning that information to StarVista Live is October 30th, please. So you have approximately 9 days here to make sure you get that done. In the chat section over on the in the panel, or in the operational panel of this chat, you will find a link, and in that link, by the end of the chat, you'll be able to find a link, and that link will take you to frequently asked questions and answers, and will also take you to links where you can then make sure you get your decision made and submitted to StarVista Live. For those of you, a handful of questions where we haven't received any confirmation about our decision, please understand that the confirmations will go out before the end of the year. At this point, we're just trying to collect all the information, make sure that we have everyone's appropriate answer, and then StarVista Live will start sending out confirmations. So we do know that they haven't gone out, and please don't sit with bated breath. It's going to take a couple of months here to get that all sorted out. Hopefully sooner, but we're sorting through a lot of information, obviously, as people can understand. On that same note, you know, a lot of people have questions, Mike, about what will StarVista Live do to secure the safety of the guest. And I think maybe again there's a little confusion as to who's operating the ship and who's responsible for certain things. Not that you shirk that, but would you talk a little bit about the relationship between you and the cruise line and guaranteeing the safety of guests when we're talking about social distancing, testing, guidelines, et cetera?
Sure. I mean, it's a great question, and I think it goes back to understanding our position vis-a-vis the charter company, Celebrity in this case. You know, we license the ship, but we operate under all the rules and regulations of the ship itself. And so while we can add, you know, musicians and artists, and we can have events, and the infrastructure and all the rules and regulations and policies and procedures are in place. And so when we talk about things like COVID, you know, any protocols, and I should say that the CDC has not agreed with the protocols yet. They're still considering the pitches that the charter companies have made to them, and they'll either approve or ask for changes, and that's supposed to be by October 31st. So even as we stand now, we don't know what the protocols will be going forward, and they probably will change. There probably will be protocols and safety procedures between now and the end of the year. There may be something different from January, early, you know, 2021, and then eventually we're hoping that it snaps back to something that we recognize as being essentially what we have so far. So this is not anything that we would lead on. We would follow. We are guests on the ship. We are not we're not management of the ship. We don't control the ship, and we really follow the rules. We are merely 3 weeks for Celebrity among the 1,000 weeks they go and across all their charters for the entire year. They will come up with the protocols. They'll agree with the CDC. They will communicate to us. There will be a website that the guests can go on and actually see those rules articulated, so that you can go straight to the ship and see the formal. And again, we will follow whatever rules and regulations they apply. I think at the end of the day, we've always said we want to feel that it'll be safe, and it'll be similar to the experience that we've always delivered. And so we reserve the right to, you know, look at those procedures and not be comfortable, or to be completely comfortable until we see what they are. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that the CDC and the charter companies and the industry groups won't come up with a pretty good set of protocols. But
yeah,
you know, until they see it, when we recognize what it is, you know, we would. But again, we're followers. We're not leaders in this situation.
And I think too that you know, I don't want to play that guy, but you know, I worked on cruise ships for almost 15 years. You know, I was an actual employee on board cruise ships, and I was management for a while, and I was corporate for a little while, and a trainer, and I did multiple things in that time frame. But I was on ships, and when you are out there, it's hard to describe to people and explain how rigid the safety and health protocols are, and how tightly held cruise ships are to those protocols. I mean, you've got visits from all different walks of life and governmental agencies and safety agencies constantly from safety of life in terms of the Coast Guard and on down to the Navy, all the way down to food and drug and all the other things. cruise ships are held to a very, very, very stringent set of rules. So I can speak on behalf of cruise ships and say they won't allow guests back on board for true cruising, true American, American home port cruising, until there's a lot of decisions that have been made. And I think one of the main ones you're going to see is the controlling of the terminal. If you can prevent illnesses from getting on board, obviously that's going to be almost 100%. That's going to be almost 100% of the focus to start, is catch it before it gets to within 6 feet of everybody. And again, not to be to spread concern, but that's where I think you're going to see major changes to start. And then the reason I say that is, and I love our guests to death, but a lot of the comments are, well, what's going to happen to the buffet? It's like, well, that's a smaller decision for farther down the road that cruise lines are going to have to deal with. But
whatever they do the week before or the week after is what they'll do out. We won't be unique.
Precisely.
And the point is that in Europe they are cruising. MSC now has a second ship in Europe, so we can look to them and to see that they're able to do it again with a smaller footprint. So that's a cause for some optimism, and particularly if we're looking at 22, we feel that it will be a great environment by 22. We're really optimistic, but the time period you have to work your way through.
Another common question we're getting is for anyone that has stuck through, anyone that's hung on and kept their payments with StarVista Live, are there any perks or extras or upgrades that are going to be able to be offered, and how does that negotiate between you and the cruise line?
Well, I think we can have Alan jump in here. I know that the most important thing was really for us to invest in the things that the guests really most wanted or seemed like they most wanted, which is the artist, which is the event. And so I think we've been able to secure a group of artists initially, but I know Alan has plans to make our 5th anniversary bigger, better, and more fun-filled than ever before. So that's I think.
Because we had to wait, or we're having to wait 2 years to get back on a Flower Power cruise. We're going to make it a bigger, better, more special, more performances, more great artists. The lineup that we have right now is mostly every artist that we had planned for 2020. We're still waiting for a couple. The Hollies, who was on 2020, have an Australian tour that they committed to for 2022 because of the pandemic and everything that's going on in Australia. Also, those dates have not been confirmed. They're waiting for the confirmation of those dates before they commit to us. They believe they're going to be able to do that, but they can't confirm that until the Australian dates are confirmed. And we hope that'll be shortly. We'll be adding some stuff and adding some surprises. I feel like I got to give the people who are loyal and staying with us and coming on the 2022 Flower Power Cruise something that's even more special than they would have had this year, and something that's even more memorable, and something that celebrates that 5th sailing even bigger and better. So that's what we're hoping to do. That's what we will do. That's what we will deliver. I have more artists calling me that want to go on Flower Power than I've been calling them. They all miss it. They can't wait to go back. They have a wonderful time on this cruise. I more or less have to tell them, well, I'll get back to you rather than me call and ask them, because this is a cruise that's special. This artist loves this customer base, loves the party that we throw, that they're involved in, and the customers make so special, and the events that we have on board. So there won't be a problem filling this boat up to even with more artists, more special events, and more of an unbelievable experience than we would have had we sailed in 20 or 21. The challenge, the bar is high for me, and we're going to deliver.
I love that. Here's a question that apologizes for their bluntness, but they do want to know, is there a chance that if we leave our money with you, that StarVista Live could go bankrupt and then we are walking away with absolutely nothing? Sorry to be blunt. We love you guys. Just a concerned patron.
Our company has been in business for about 40 years. It is a big company. The cruise division is one part of this company. To let everybody know, the rest of our company, we're having a wonderful year. We're having a very successful year. Our company we'll make our numbers. If you're in business, you know what that means. We're going to make our numbers this year with or without cruising. So we're not going anywhere. We're doing well. We miss cruising from a from a standpoint that we love to cruise, we love to be on the boats, we love to have fun with the customers, enjoy the same shows, the same entertainment. We're not missing it financially this year. Thankfully, it's a good business, but we surely miss going there and being there. And we missed it last year. We sailed up until February 22nd with our other cruises, and the only cruise that was canceled this year up until now, to this time period, is Flower Power. So to miss it already this year and miss it again next year is a very sad feeling for us. But thankfully, we'll be in business. We'll be here. And like it or not, you'll see us all in 2022 jumping on board, ready to party with you.
You have 2 requests for Santana, so get on that, Alan Rubens. I'm sure that's.
You should see the list that I do have. I have a long list.
Yeah. And actually, speaking about, kind of bouncing around a little bit here, which is, I'm kind of fielding these questions as we go. A bunch of the questions are about the artists themselves. Now, I know you spoke to the fact that artists are, calling you and rebooking. Speaking about the 2020 artists through to 2022, you have rebooked many of them. And in fact, you're in contact very closely with, like you said, the Hollies, who are dealing with a tour. And it's not just as simple as just transferring one set of artists to a new cruise. It's a process. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The live entertainment business has been put on hold, and many concerts, shows, and tours have been rescheduled for these artists. And when you do call them, listen, they all would love to go on the Flower Power cruise. I have nobody that says to me, I don't want to go, but they have to check, like the Hollies, have other commitments that they have to clear. So mostly every artist that was scheduled for 20 has now been confirmed and will be on 22. The ones that haven't, we're in constant contact to them. I'm talking to them or their management to work through their other commitments and other issues that they might have, and or bringing some new stuff on of other artists that we've had in the past or new stuff that we haven't had before to, again, make the cruise something special in 22. But we're constant contact with the artists, and the ones that haven't committed yet are just some small issues that we're working out.
And Mike, question about the destinations in terms of when you're booking this far out, and obviously with all of it's obviously very hard. Do we know much about the destinations, the stops yet for the Flower Power 22?
Well, we have the same destinations that we had before, and we're able to secure them through Celebrity. And so they approve it, then they go to the specific island or destination, and that destination's approved it. They have the marine operations has to approve it to see that you can get from point A to point B in the right time period. And then Alan has certain needs in terms of artists. So you have an artist that can fly in and out on a particular day, or they want to go half a week versus a full week. So it was really important to kind of keep that consistent so that we're able to tell the artist it's going to be quite similar to what you had in 21. And then, in terms of the destinations themselves, I think if it was March of 2021, you'd have a lot of difficulties. We do something called downlining, which is bringing artists on halfway or beginning to get off halfway or getting on halfway or getting on and off for a day. And that's a special dispensation that we get from the charter companies and allow us to bring people on and off. And so that is more difficult in these circumstances. A lot of the islands or destinations have their own protocols, and they're less likely to want to see people fly in and jump on a ship and fly back. So that, I think, will settle itself out by towards the end of 21 easily. But I think in the spring, which was another factor for us. So yeah, we were able to secure the islands, even though a lot of them were kind of on hiatus in terms of what they were going to respond to for 21. It was becoming more difficult, but they believe their environments are going to settle down by late 21, early 22.
A handful of questions regarding those folks that did post for a refund. They want to make sure there's a handful of them, and they're worded differently across the board. What I kind of gathered, I'm not putting words in your mouth, those of you that ask for refunds, but what I'm kind of taking from some of the funny comments is, we're not in the doghouse, are we? We're allowed to rebook, right?
Absolutely. You are part of our family. Whether you cancel now and want to come back later, we welcome you back with open arms when and whichever cruise you want to come on. We're thrilled to have you and enjoy it as you have in the past, and we'll enjoy you as we have in the past.
Yeah, and honestly, we all lived in this environment for the last 6 or 8 months, and it's not an environment that we expected, and we certainly didn't enjoy a lot of it. But we respect people's personal decisions. We all have families. We all have, older, parents, and we have staff, and we have crew, and we have the artists, and we have the artists' families that sometimes. So all of that, led us to a position where we totally respect people's input. And lots of people are staying. They just believe that it's going to be better by 22. And some of those people are going to take a refund now, and 3 or 4 months from now, they're going to wake up one day and say, boy, I'm going to miss the 5th anniversary if I don't go on it. And we welcome you back with open arms. We have a pretty big waiting list. And so we'll probably go out to that waiting list in December. So it becomes a little bit, this is our biggest waiting list group. Now, we have no idea what it's going to be like going forward, but I think,
historically speaking, though.
Historically speaking. And so and I don't believe things have changed that much.
As Mike said, we respect your decision to cancel. That's why we made that option available, but you're going to miss a party. You're going to miss a good time. And as Mike said, we have a long wait list. We have people who've already started emailing us say, have cabins opened up with Flower Power? Can I get a cabin now? So
they got shut out the first time, and they're really thinking this is my second bite at the, or third bite at the apple, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
There's a bunch of questions about upgrading already too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big factor. So.
Questions and things of that nature. Alan, for your list, would you please put down Classics 4 and Hermit Peter Noon? We'd like to make sure you have those included.
Peter's a good friend, and we talked many times. And as I said, there'll be many surprises not listed yet on the website and in the email, and many surprises to make this a great cruise.
And there
As
is,
Mike said, we can't move a cruise till contracts are signed, and I can't announce the artists till contracts are signed.
There's a crossover question that said, don't be afraid to bring someone like America. Just for your notes, sir. Don't know if you guys want to answer or not, but a question about what is the parent company of StarVista Live?
What is the parent company?
The parent company. Yeah, you said there's
our company is Direct Holdings Global, is the name of our company. StarVista Live is one division of that company.
And a question about, do you have confirmed what ship it will be on?
Yeah, they've told us it's a Millennium class ship, and they've suggested to me which ship it would be. They've asked me to kind of hold back on that because they're revolutionizing some of the ships and their different timing. And again, I think that was put off by the situation that we're in. So it will be a Millennium class. It'll be a ship you're familiar with. There's probably two choices, and I think I have a pretty good idea where we're going. But the charter company did ask me to, not to share.
The same ship and the same layout of the ship as we've had in the past.
Sister ships, yeah, absolutely.
Sister ships is what they're called. Yep.
The same wonderful theaters and the same wonderful pool performance areas and the same other venues around the boat.
Question about land events, and I know this is something we've tackled with some of the other cruises about the potential of doing something on land and why or why not that does not make sense at this point.
Well, StarVista consistently looks at all possibilities of putting on our type of events, whether it's on land or on a ship. But there's a reason why the cruise has been canceled or postponed. And there's a reason why we don't feel people would travel to a land event. We do have ownership in a land event called Abbey Road on the River, which is in Jeffersonville, Indiana, that was postponed last May. That was postponed. That was going to redo in October, has been postponed. So we do look at the possibility, and it's something that we will consider going forward. But at the moment, there are no absolute plans. But it will be something to consider, because if we could do something that way in the interim, in the meantime, or afterwards, whether it's a Flower Power theme or another theme, will be something that we consistently look at. And Mike and I have talked many, many times doing it and are interested in it, but timing is everything.
Yeah, we flew down, Jason, you were with us. We flew down to Mexico a year and a half ago. We took a look at a property down there. It's known for kind of destination events. And we keep coming back to the ability to throw this party on a ship. and the fun that you have, because there's camaraderie, there's intimacy, there's, you know, you're in the gym
Family
with the
reunion.
artists. You know, it's just a different environment. And on land, it's a little different because it isn't as contained. I think there will be a land-based event in our future. And like Alan said, it may not be in place of, it may be something halfway in between cruises that we do, and perhaps a smaller event. And but that event on board is such a special event. So we have so much fun. It's such a great intimate environment that I'd be a little leery about trying to replicate that on land unless you're really sure you can get it right. And we could, but we haven't seen that so far.
To be sailing on that boat under the Caribbean skies in the middle of the ocean on our 60s psychedelic party and having the family stone saying, I want to take you higher, dance to the music. It's a special moment. It's a special event. We're hard pressed to figure if we could do that same excitement on land, but it is a challenge that we live.
Both of you guys, this is one of our all-time favorite questions that we get on most of the cruises other than the couple we do it on. Reserved seating, why not?
Go ahead, you take this one.
I'll let you take
say the
it.
same thing.
I've answered this question many times.
Yeah, go ahead. It's yours. It's all yours.
Okay. We have come home from our cruises and sent questionnaires to our cruisers and asked them what we could do to make it better. What issues did you have? What problems? What things would you like to see? And each year we keep thinking that we're going to be overwhelmed with people wanting reserved seating. And surprisingly, for those of you that do want it, the majority doesn't want it. The majority says they're fine and love it the way it is. They want to sit one place one night and another place another night, and come early and wait in line one night and not wait in line another night. So we've explored the possibility, asked the question, but been given the answer numerous times.
I think it surprised us. You know, we really felt,
Yeah,
okay, if you had a reserved seat. I think a lot of people say that they're willing to wait to get a upfront view of a specific artist or two. They may not want it all week. They may not need it all week. And so somebody who gets a seat further back, and they're all great seats anyway, but they'd say, well, I'd rather wait and get what I want for that particular artist. So but it's been surprising to us that it hasn't been, and we've done it on 2 cruises and it's worked out really well. We thought we would do it on all of them, and we kind of listened to what people said. And we did listen to what people said. Yeah, they didn't overwhelmingly ask for it. Surprising.
You know what? It's fascinating too. I think that and I'm not here to say you should or shouldn't do it, or anybody should or shouldn't do it. But what's interesting with reserved seating is what it does more than anything else is that you don't have to wait in line. You know where your seat is. You come in 3 minutes before the show, your seat's there, you walk in, you sit down. What that does for you is it backs down your evening. And by that, it means if you go to a show in another venue that's before your main stage theater show or after, or your dinner, or everything is positioned. It's a big ship, but it's not huge. Every venue can't take 1,000 people. So we have to counter program and move things about. And one of the things you do get with reserved seating is you get the ability to sit in, say, the Constellation Theater, Constellation Lounge all the way upstairs, and watch a full hour-long show and not get up and have to run out to stand in line to then go into your main stage theater. There is some absolute benefit to that. The loss, to your point, is that if you're a diehard Peter Noon fan and you want nothing more than front row seats, you might, your reserved seating might be a little farther back. I mean, the seats are all pretty great in the theaters in my mind, but I can hear both sides. Like, I hear both sides. It's a tough.
I lean towards liking it. And I changed it on country a few years ago because I saw people walking out of a fantastic performance in a smaller room so they could rush to wait online. And it was disrespectful to the artist. It just kind of upset the kind of counter programming that we do. People would rush out in the middle of a set and then we had an older demographic, and that's an older demographic than this one. And people were, disabled in some cases, and we brought chairs out. It just got to be really difficult. So we made the change and thought we would do it on all of them, and we didn't hear it. So fill out the questionnaire, please, and indicate if you want to assign seating. Let us know, because we will follow the lead. And if it's close, we probably would follow it, but it wasn't even close. It
Yeah, it's
was,
not close.
yeah, that's the surprise to us.
Well, and actually, I give this, I say this to the guests, and I say it about you, but to you at the same time. Uh, StarVista Live does a really good job at reading and responding to guest comments, and I think that's overlooked. Though you guys are a big company, you're very intimate in terms of the cruise, the cruise side of StarVista Live and Direct Holdings. And so when you get comments in these feedback cards from the ship, we really do go over them. We have, and I don't know that guests understand, we have full hour, multi-hour meetings where we're either all in the same room or over Zoom and different things where we actually hash out, and some people agree and disagree, and we fight about stuff, and we figure that, well, do we, don't we? You know, do you upset a lot to patronize a few? And, how do you make some of these decisions? I say that to say, and you said it a moment ago, fill out your comment cards. I mean, people have a voice in this, it's their cruise too, if that is fair of me to say.
We read and consider every single comment, and sometimes there are one-offs that can't be routed. There's reasons
Yeah,
you
not them
can't
all, not all.
replicate it. Can you use the main theater more during the day? Well, there are sound checks. There's some realities that just exist. However, if we can change it and would make the experience better, we're happy to do that. And we're happy to go to the ship too if there's ship issues. We've often brought the ship in to hear some of the comments too, because they don't just relate to the entertainment. They might relate to something that ship is doing or not doing. We're happy to convey that on too.
And we've handled most of the questions here, and so before we start thinking about wrapping up, what are your thoughts on the musical charter industry? There's a generalized question that I'm kind of reading into from a handful of comments about, will this be changed forever? Will this keep going? How confident are you even that we will do cruises in 2022, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? What are your general thoughts about this style of large party cruise, assuming we get through this and we're approved to go fully? Thoughts from either of you?
When it's safe, we will be going, and our competitors or other theme cruise companies can't wait to get started again. They've all postponed, got dates, worked on their contracts for their boats in 2022. So the only change will be until then. And then I think it'll be just like it was before, with, as Mike said, some CDC restrictions or changes that they may give us. But the business will be there. The cruise industry will be back, and the theme cruise business will be back, because it's been such a wonderful experience, so widely attended, so widely received by the consumer. So I just think it's a matter of the patience to make sure that it's safe for the artist, for the customer, for our staff and the theme company staffs and the celebrity staffs, and Holland America and every other boat that's sailing. But I don't think the industry is going anywhere. I think it's just patiently waiting till it's safe, until it's comfortable again.
I totally,
Wonderful way to spend a week. It's a wonderful vacation. It's a wonderful way to spend a week. It's a wonderful way to go back and visit a special time in your life. Where else can you do that, and where else can you capture that and share that with so many like-minded people?
Yeah, I totally agree. And talking to our competitors and talking to the charter companies, people love music. They love to cruise. And if you can help them get over the barrier of feeling, not necessarily safe, and again, we recognize that. Once you're able to do that, I really think almost all of them come back. There may be some people that are permanently affected, but I think they'll be replaced. And I think that much like there'll be major concerts and there'll be NBA basketball games and people go out to dinner, we will move beyond this. And I think it's such a great, Alan and I always, get together for the sail away party. We look out over the crowd and the music's playing, and you're in the Caribbean, and it's just, sometimes this last 6 months I've forgotten how much fun it was to be on the ship, how it's just a blessing to be able to do this. And so while we can't do it right away, we're going to do it again. We're totally committed to it, and the artists can't wait.
That's the catch to a lot of this, right?
They just
the artists
wait.
are still back.
So
if I wasn't part of StarVista, I'd want to come on the cruise.
Yeah.
I'd write the check and come on that cruise. It's a blast. So
it is.
A couple of questions, and they're just kind of rolling in here. One of these is actually kind of interesting. If the CDC and the cruise lines, is there a, how to ask this, is there a division potentially where you would choose as StarVista Live not to do the cruise, even if certain regulations have been laid down to where you can cruise? For instance, what if they say we can cruise, but you all have to wear masks and gloves? Is that something where StarVista Live, and I'm not putting you on the spot for it hard, yes, no, but
I think, as Mike said earlier, if we believe we can put on the experience that StarVista is known for and what the customer expects, we would consider putting on the cruise. If we can't put on the same experience, if we can't give the customer the same value for their dollar and for their time, then I don't think we will cruise. It's a matter of, we know the kind of experience you want. If we can provide it safely, we will provide it. If we can't, then besides the fact that the cruise ship's sailing and they have, if their limitations restrict us from giving you the experience that you expect and we would want to put on, that's where we would draw the line.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think if they wanted to test 100% of the people before they got on board, and that was a protocol, that would be something that doesn't affect how we get on board. It affects you before. It's probably sensible. To me, it would seem like a good idea. Great. If they have to change the salad bar so they serve you versus you grabbing it yourself, or if they alternate dining times or limit the number of people rationally in different, that's fine. But we want a sail away party with everybody there. We don't want people wearing, gloves and hazmat suits, and it wouldn't be our experience. So we will bail if it doesn't feel like it's safe, and I think that won't be an issue because the CDC will make sure it is. But we'll also, I think, bail if it's not that right experience, and we're committed to the experience. So we're not committed to sailing, we're committed to the experience, and we've worked hard to create that immersive experience. And without it, the magic's gone a bit. So,
And part of what plays into that is even as we were talking about earlier, as you mentioned, Mike, is the percentage of capacity you can have on the ship. It's not the same party at 50% capacity. It's a completely different business. It's a completely different model. So there are definitely considerations, but I think that's a really great way to put it from both of you, that it's about the experience more so than the cruise per se. And
we value the customer's time more than we value even the money they pay for the cabin. They're giving us 7 days of their year. We got to give them something very special during those 7 days. If we can't ask them to give us those 7 days.
Yeah, I'll attest to having watched you both stressed mightily over some decisions. It's real. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to thank you both very much for your time and your candor. Thank you for coming on and being honest and answering questions. And there's a lot of people that aren't being so forthcoming and are ducking a lot of this. And I do appreciate you guys. And I know I speak for the Flower Power guests and saying thank you for taking some time to come on and chat with everybody. I know it means a lot to them.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely.
We appreciate the guests, and we honestly are happy to answer any questions straight up. I think we grapple with a lot of these issues, trying to figure out, when to do the right thing, how to do the right thing. And, not all these things are easy to make decisions on, but we're happy to explain our logic. And, while neither of us likes to be front and center, that's for the artist to be front and center. Sometimes you have to kind of step up and explain to people how you arrived at a certain point in time. And we never thought we'd arrive at this point in time, when we got off our last cruise. But be safe, everybody. That's the most important thing. And keep your family safe. And we'll be together soon. We're going to have a blast. And we're going to do that sail away party where the magic begins. It's going to be a longer wait than we would like, but we're committed to doing it. And so I appreciate all the questions and your hosting this.
Not at all. To all of our folks that are watching or might be watching here in the future in a recorded style events, thank you very much again. I am Jason, your virtual cruise host now, and we do really appreciate you. Be safe, be smart, treat each other with kindness, and we'll be seeing you again very soon. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Stay safe.